Well, there was a development with the Sanders campaign this week where Sanders has been hospitalized for a couple of days. He had to cancel some events, and he should be back on the trail in maybe a week, two at most. It's a routine checkup, and I laugh because when I think of doctor visits and just going and being in the hospital for a couple of days with any older individual, or just and when I say older, I mean 50, 60, 70. At periods where your heart becomes more of a serious threat to your well-being, I just kind of write it off and say, hey, that person will get their cleanup in terms of health and then or checkup rather, and then they'll be right back out. And that's the way his campaign has made it seem, and that's the way that people who are actually knowledgeable of what's going on and not trying to smear him have made it seem. But for some reason, I've been having to watch a lot of not very smart commentary on this matter. So there's an article by The Hill, and it's called Sanders Heart Procedures Shine Spotlight on Age of Top Democrats. And it's written by, I think this is Amy, it's spelled Amie, whatever. News that Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, had been hospitalized so that two stents could be inserted to prevent an arterial blockage, has Democrats fretting once again about the age of their leading contenders for the White House. Sanders, 78, was in good spirits after the procedure, according to his campaign. Later on Wednesday, he turned his operation into an opportunity to tout Medicare for all, tweeting that he was feeling fine and was fortunate to have great doctors and nurses helping me to recover. None of us know when a medical emergency might affect us, he said, and no one should fear going bankrupt if it occurs. Medicare for all, Sanders wrote. Polls show Sanders is one of the top three candidates running for the Democratic presidential nomination, and all three are in their 70s. Former Vice President Joe Biden, 76, has repeatedly heard questions about his age amid verbal flubs and statements, such as a comment about listening to records during one of the Democratic debates that underscore how he is of an older generation. As questions came up about his age and stamina, some allies suggested to the campaign that Biden pace himself. Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren, 70, have heard fewer questions about their age, and Sanders supporters have pointed to their candidate's vigorous schedule and said he had no signs of slowing down. He walks faster than I walk, one Sanders ally told The Hill, but questions for Sanders are likely to step up after Wednesday. You can be a young 78, but you're still 78, one longtime Democratic strategist wondered. I think the Bernie news is proof of that. They're all old, the strategist continued. Is this really the best we could do? Democrats will face off against a 73-year-old and President Trump, who has also at times faced questions about his age. Trump has also signaled his willingness to make age an issue in the campaign. He frequently goes after Biden and has argued the former vice president has lost a step. Some Democrats have argued the party would be better off with the younger nominee. The best way for the Democratic Party to realize its growth potential is younger leadership, said Democratic strategist Brad Brannan. Um, the Hill, with their wonderful spell check, this is what they wrote. Said Democratic strategist Brad Bannon said, God, man, they need Grammarly. It is limiting that the party's most visible leaders, Sanders, Biden, Warren, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, are all in their 70s. I just like to point out that they're Pelosi was picked by the DNC, by the by the House Democrats. They voted for her. Whatever. Youth must be served, and the party should be promoting a new generation of leadership. He added. Democrats remember how Republicans used health issues against 2016 presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, who was not in her 70s, but whatever. So that's one of the articles. The other one is by Fox, and they're quoting what Stuart Varney said, where he says that Warren will be the Democratic nominee for the 2020 Democratic ticket. Maybe I'm jumping the gun, But it sure seems to me that Elizabeth Warren is real close to locking up the Democratic nomination. Look at what's happened just in the last few days. Bernie Sanders has had heart surgery for a blocked artery. All campaign events canceled until further notice. Let's see. Varney argued that Sanders' hospital visit lends credence to those questioning whether his age will get in the way of securing a spot in Oval Office. There are now obvious questions about whether a 78-year-old can endure months of exhausting campaigning. Well, Sanders has been running for president since February, and so far he's endured months of exhaustive campaigning. So, those were the clowns in full effect. And you gotta understand something. Whether it's Yang, O'Rourke, Buddha Trash, Harris, all of these people are susceptible to a health issue. We can literally go through history and look at various candidates who were younger than Sanders who had health troubles. Um, I'd prefer not to because we'd have to like sit here for a while. But I can't understand how someone can raise, and this is what gets me, right? Ask yourself this, because I always try to say that the three candidates the media likes to smear are Sanders, Gabbard, and Yang. Now ask yourself this: if Harris or Buddha Trash or O'Rourke, right? If any of these people had raised 23 million, which was what Sanders raised, the highest number of any Democrat in the third fundraising quarter, if any of them had raised that much money, do you really? And right after that is announced, suspend their campaign for a couple of days or a week or two because they're in the hospital getting treated for an artery. Do you really believe any of those people would be questioned on whether they're physically fit enough to run for president after months of running for president? Or do you think that it would just be this little blurb that gets mentioned on TV while they go, oh my God, this candidate is rising because, they're, wow, they've raised the highest amount. I have not seen a single mention. I've watched Fox, I've watched MSNBC, CNN, on any of these networks about Sanders being in the lead in terms of fundraising. Nothing. And that's not a coincidence. And then before anyone says, oh, well, they really are concerned about age, Biden has been going around making verbal gaffes more easily, most notoriously of any candidate, just over and over again. And I have not seen any panels go, hey, this guy might be not mentally all there. Um, just any kind of speculatory nature toward his well-being in the head. The only person who they perceived to be doing that, Castro, whose own campaign is about to be over, uh, got confronted by all the different pundits. How could he go after an older man for his age? Well, that's exactly what you're doing now. Everybody can get sick. Right now I could have some issue where I have to go to the hospital and then sit in there for a few days. Does that mean that I've exceeded my age of capacity to do the thing that I'm trying to do? No. God, it's like sometimes when people, I think when they want to smear someone, and this is just not my perception of it, they will literally go out of their way to find every and anything they can use against that person or set of candidates just to fuel their own narrative. Um, I'm so grossed out that you can get sick, and then instead of people just going, okay, this person should be back to campaigning a few days later. Oh my God, this throws the whole race into disarray. What if Sanders dies? It's a routine checkup, and they've literally been. Listen, if people still don't get at this point that he gets smeared, you're purposely not trying to see it. They are going out of their way to downplay the valid critiques of the mental fitness of Biden while ramping up their fake concern over Sanders being hospitalized to try to sell a narrative to you that he is physically ailing after months of showing no signs of stopping, after years of showing no signs of stopping. Hell, even after being in a hospital showing no signs of stopping. People have to take a break. They can't do the same thing every day. That's why with me, I even um, record some stuff during the weekend now. I can't just get up here and, here's a 2 hour long stream today. Here's a 2 hour one tomorrow. At a certain point, you just have to step back and not strain yourself over these things. But they don't realize that because they treat people that they want to smear as less than human. So it's a gross act by the media, and hopefully they'll more people will stop watching them. They're garbage networks that offer nothing except smears, lies, propaganda, and a joke that is able to masquerade as journalism.